lament. The dead linger.
The child's hand presses against reinforced glass as Arbites separate the Korvath family by productivity assessment. 7-year-old Mira watches her father disappear behind gray doors while her mother clutches transit papers stamped with Processing Center, Gamma 7's Imperial Aquila. The glass takes her handprint. The doors slide shut with hydraulic finality. They open inward here, never out. Hive Tertius. Processing Center. Gamma 7 processes displacement with mechanical efficiency. The Korvaths are 3 among 47,000 souls seeking Imperial refuge this rotation cycle. They fled orc incursions that consumed their agri-world, carrying what remains in cloth bundles and hope. The promise carved above intake gates reads, "Sanctuary serves the throne." Smaller Gothic script warns, entry constitutes service contract. The facility spans 3 hive sublevels, transit halls, auspex arches, intake benches bolted to concrete floors. Clerks in parchment robes move along queues, styluses tapping data slates. Each file gains notation, DPPI provisional, household split pending, sanitation delay probable. Quiet phrases pass between staff. Green for placement, gray for specialized assignment, red for containment. The Departamento Refugium administers this with liturgical precision. Sector briefs record 847 million displaced souls processed annually, capacity exceeded every quarter, throughput nonetheless improving. The math is the morality. Across the sector, facilities span orbital processing stations, pilgrim hostels, and designated sanctuary worlds. Each serves the same function, sorting human displacement into Imperial utility. Mira's mother clutches gray tickets won in work camp lottery, traded for wedding bangles and 2 ration weeks. The pressed metal chits bear serial numbers corresponding to specialized placement protocols. They guarantee placement, though not the kind families imagine. Families bargain desperately for them, because rumor insists gray means safety. Rumor is not audited. Processing quotas never align with stated capacity. The discrepancy is deliberate. Overflow creates processing pressure that accelerates sorting decisions. Families arrive expecting temporary shelter and departure protocols. They find neither. The facility's architecture reinforces this reality. Single-entry checkpoints, central surveillance towers, dormitories arranged for head counts rather than comfort. Confessor booths line the sidewalls, grills dark, drains bright. New arrivals donate stories, sins, and affiliations into Vox recorders that never lose appetite. Truth is a tithe, paid up front. The Korvaths pass under auspex arches. Light shears across their bones as data flowers across 3 slates simultaneously. A clerk murmurs, almost kind, "By grace we enter." The rest of the sentence waits in Edict Refugium 7, unread. "By service we remain, by command we serve." Above, murals show the Emperor's hand sheltering. Crowds below, tally boards stutter as quotas refresh. Intake versus beds. Calories versus mouths, labor hours promised to nearby manufactoria. Mercy has quotas. The arbits do not shout, they correct. Professional pressure folds resistance back into compliance. The door that admitted the Korvaths opens inward by design. It represents Imperial Refuge's fundamental architecture. Entry without departure, sanctuary becoming service, protection, transforming into processing. Their documentation lacks departure procedures, not bureaucratic oversight, but institutional logic. The documentation lacking departure procedures reflects deeper institutional logic. Imperial Refuge operates under Administratum Edict Refugium 7, which codifies mercy as measurable resource allocation. The Korvaths learn this through morning congregation as Confessor Thaddeus delivers the litany of imperial succor. Sanctuary serves the throne serves humanity. His voice carries across intake halls, while data slates flicker with overnight processing numbers. The hierarchy of protection follows Imperial priorities with bureaucratic precision. First consideration goes to servants of the throne, wounded guardsmen, displaced administratum functionaries. Second tier includes skilled laborers whose talents serve the war economy directly. Third encompasses tithe-eligible bodies capable of contributing manpower or resources. Finally, as resources permit, the remainder receive evaluation. Resources rarely permit. This valuation operates through the Displaced Person's Productivity Index, converting human displacement into economic metrics. DPPI, scoring factors, age, health, skills, genetic markers, and loyalty indicators into quantifiable utility measurements. The Corvaths rate provisional green, father's agricultural experience, mother's weaving capabilities, children's schola eligibility. Provisional means subject to revision based on processing requirements. Red assessment markings appear on intake forms for medical unfitness, genetic deviation, or loyalty concerns. These sigils trigger specialized processing through gray corridors leading to sub-level facilities. Protocol. Harvest authorization codes nest within service contract subclauses, requiring dual signatures. Administratum for resource allocation. Arbites for population control. The codes activate during military crisis, converting refugee status into Imperial service assignments. Black ships maintain priority claim clauses in all refugee documentation. Psyker potential supersedes family unity, productivity ratings, and processing timelines. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica collects without negotiation when ships arrive. Families sign because the line is long and alternatives are absent. The Catechism reinforces legal frameworks through ritual repetition. Refugees recite daily, "By grace we enter, by service we remain, by command we serve." These words establish contract terms disguised as prayer. Grace creates obligation. Service becomes permanence. Command supersedes choice. The Catechism is the contract, spoken aloud, witnessed by Imperial servants. Confessor Thaddeus explains Imperial mercy as sorting mechanism rather than universal principle. The worthy receive protection. The useful gain employment. The loyal earn continuation. The remainder face specialized assignment. Mercy without discrimination would constitute waste, serving neither throne nor humanity. Therefore, mercy must discriminate with mathematical precision. Processing Center Gamma 7 displays efficiency ratings prominently. 94% successful placement, 6% specialized assignment, 0% departure. These statistics reduce human displacement to resource allocation problems with optimal solutions. Each percentage represents thousands of souls processed through systems converting desperation into Imperial utility. The contradiction operates openly. Doctrine promises universal protection, while administrative reality delivers selective processing. Refugees expect temporary shelter leading to resettlement. They receive permanent assignment to Imperial service chains. This gap between promise and practice represents institutional design, not bureaucratic failure. Hope maintains compliance during processing phases. The Corvaths complete their first catechism recitation as morning shift begins. Above them, Gothic architecture promises sanctuary. Below them, processing infrastructure prepares systematic sorting through corridors designed to make doctrine concrete. The corridors, designed to make doctrine concrete, stretch beneath the Corvaths' feet as morning shift begins. Processing Center Gamma 7 embeds Imperial policy within reinforced plascrete and controlled access points. Every wall, corridor, and checkpoint serves dual functions: containment and sorting, shelter and processing. Architecture becomes policy-made, tangible. The facility spans 3 hive sublevels connected by a single entry checkpoint that funnels all movement through Auspex monitoring stations. Central surveillance towers provide panopticon oversight of dormitory blocks arranged in radial patterns for optimal headcount efficiency. Ceiling-mounted voxcasters deliver hourly processing updates and liturgical reminders. The structure enforces compliance through spatial organization rather than overt coercion. Movement follows color-coded routing that prevents unauthorized access while maintaining processing flow. Green corridors connect intake areas to approved dormitories, wide pathways with devotional murals and measured water stations. Gray routes slope 5 degrees downward toward specialized assignment areas, requiring escort authorization and featuring dual-key terminals at junction points. Red pathways demand Arbites override codes and terminate at blast doors leading to containment facilities designed for permanent occupation. Confessor booths occupy strategic intersections throughout the facility. Each chamber features acoustic dampening, Vox recording equipment, and industrial drainage systems connected to sub-level waste processing. Refugees enter seeking spiritual guidance and provide intelligence on family backgrounds, political affiliations, and resistance indicators. The booths serve pastoral care and information extraction simultaneously. Drainage systems handle various processing requirements that remain unspecified in facility documentation. The dual-key authorization system prevents unauthorized processing while ensuring operational security. Administratum keys authorize resource allocation based on productivity assessments. Arbites keys enable population control measures based on security evaluations. Both signatures activate capacity overflow protocols when processing requirements exceed standard parameters. The system prevents individual abuse while enabling systematic processing operations. Dormitories line green corridors in repeating bays with triple bunks, padlocked lockers, and headcount lights that pulse at curfew. Privacy becomes commodity. Single occupancy cells, private washing time, and unmonitored communication access cost extra rations or personal possessions. Better housing assignments near heat ducts require bribes. Ration tier manipulation depends on relationships with distribution clerks. The architecture creates deliberate scarcity that generates black market opportunities. Beyond Gamma 7, processing principles adapt to different environments. Orbital stations feature rotating habitat rings with artificial gravity zones for different processing stages. Agri-world camps demonstrate how temporary canvas becomes permanent concrete as populations exceed departure capacity. Pilgrim hostels on shrine worlds copy the basic design in local materials. The forms change, the function remains constant. Capacity overflow protocols convert transit halls into temporary berths using accordion walls and emergency lighting. When alarms sound, blast shutters seal sections faster than echoes can travel. The facility hums with controlled pressure that keeps populations manageable while maintaining throughput efficiency. The Corvaths navigate green corridors toward their assigned dormitory block, passing gray junction points where dual-key terminals blink amber and red-marked doors that remain sealed. The architecture guides their movement while limiting their choices, embodying Imperial refugee doctrine through spatial control. Ahead waits the sorting ritual that will determine who remains together and on what terms. The spatial control embodied in Processing Center Gamma 7's architecture now channels the Corvaths toward Processing Station 7, where human displacement transforms into Imperial resource allocation. Adept Clerk Voss operates biometric scanners with liturgical precision, retinal patterns, genetic markers, bone density measurements feeding cogitator. Banks that hum with data spirit communion. Each scan creates dependencies that will govern their processing pathway through systems designed to extract maximum utility from human displacement. Joric Corvath's weathered hands register 23 years cultivating corpse wheat on Valon Prime, translating to provisional green classification in the Displaced Persons Productivity Index. His wife Marin's weaving skills earn secondary notation, useful but not critical to war economy requirements. 7-year-old Mira triggers Scola progenium evaluation protocols due to age and genetic compatibility markers. The machine spirit murmurs acceptance for 2, queries for 1, flags the child's neural rhythm as requiring observation. Loyalty oath recitation follows with mechanical precision. Refugees repeat sanctified phrases while vox recorders capture vocal patterns, stress indicators, and hesitation markers for analysis. I renounce all former loyalties save service to the Golden Throne. I embrace Imperial protection through willing submission to processing requirements. The words establish legal framework for subsequent assignments while identifying potential resistance through speech analysis algorithms. Purity seals warm against skin as wax hardens, marking Imperial protection and subtle tracking capabilities. Medical examination proceeds through Medicae servitors who probe, sample, and categorize while maintaining clinical detachment. Red assessment markings appear for medical unfitness, genetic deviation, or loyalty concerns. Crimson sigils triggering specialized processing through gray corridors, leading to conversion facilities. Jorik's old shrapnel wound receives notation, but passes threshold requirements. The family avoids red markings, though assessments remain subject to revision based on processing requirements. Skill assessment converts human experience into Imperial utility measurements. Jorik's agricultural knowledge receives moderate valuation, useful for agri-world assignments, but replaceable through standard training protocols. Marin's textile abilities earn lower ratings in an economy prioritizing munitions over comfort. Mira's youth generates highest assessment scores due to Scola eligibility and potential service decades ahead. Children represent long-term Imperial investment opportunities. Housing assignment separates the family across dormitory blocks, organized by productivity classifications rather than emotional bonds. Jorik joins skilled labor barracks near manufacturing liaison offices. Marin receives assignment to general population housing. Mira enters juvenile processing areas for specialized conditioning. The separation appears temporary, but lacks specified reunion protocols. Gray tickets change hands as the family trades wedding bangles for pressed metal chits bearing serial numbers and Aquila stamps. The clerk marks specialized placement, pending, while explaining these tokens guarantee entry into Imperial service chains when quotas require. They represent certainty rather than choice, though families perceive them as safety measures. Whispers among staff reference harvest quotas sitting 3% short after recent frontline losses, creating processing pressure. Confessor booths serve dual functions as refugees seek spiritual guidance while providing intelligence on family backgrounds, political affiliations, and resistance indicators. Drainage systems handle confession-related byproducts, while vox recorders capture information feeding loyalty indices. The booths embody pastoral care and evidence gathering simultaneously. Market dynamics emerge around processing stations. Refugees trade possessions for better assessments, volunteer information for favorable housing assignments, and exchange family heirlooms for ration upgrades. The processing strips identity while maintaining protection illusions through careful psychological management, transforming the Korvaths from displaced family into categorized Imperial resources awaiting specialized placement through systems converting desperation into Imperial utility. The systematic processing converting the Korvaths into Imperial resources operates through carefully calibrated scarcity that maintains compliance while extracting maximum productivity. Morning ration distribution reveals the hierarchy embedded in survival itself. Jorik receives worker-grade allocations, protein paste, vitamin supplements, stim caffeine for agricultural assignments. Marin gets standard-grade rations with reduced protein content, but adequate calories for textile work. Mira's subsistence-grade portions provide growth nutrients while conditioning institutional dependency. Each meal accumulates gratitude debt, calculated with bureaucratic precision. Imperial generosity. Shelter, food, protection, generates measurable obligation requiring repayment through indefinite labor service. Jorik's worker-grade rations cost 14 Imperial credits daily. Dormitory space adds 8 credits. Medical monitoring contributes 6 credits. His agricultural labor generates 12 credits value. The gap widens systematically, ensuring permanent indenture disguised as temporary assistance. Black market economics emerge within processing constraints as refugees adapt to systematic scarcity. Medical supplies trade for food supplements. Information becomes currency. Reporting suspicious conversations earns ration credits. Identifying potential resistors gains housing improvements. Marin exchanges her wedding ring for respiratory medication after Mira develops symptoms from dormitory overcrowding. The economy strips dignity while maintaining survival illusions. Control mechanisms operate through daily ritual and constant monitoring. Ration litanies reinforce dependency. By imperial grace, we are fed. Through loyal service, we earn sustenance. In gratitude, we labor for the throne. Productivity. Monitoring through wrist chronometers determines continued shelter. Loyalty informant networks report dissent, unauthorized gatherings, and regulation circumvention, ensuring compliance from within. Ascension lotteries generate hope through statistical manipulation. Processing clerks announce opportunities for better placement in imperial service chains. Winners selected through productivity assessments disguised as random selection. Families celebrate lottery victories, though winners disappear to specialized assignments without sending word back. The mystery maintains morale while facilitating systematic population reduction through voluntary compliance. Contribution assessments determine ration tier adjustments based on productivity metrics, loyalty demonstrations, and resource availability. Refugees exceeding work quotas receive temporary upgrades. Those failing productivity standards face reductions, creating downward spirals toward specialized processing. The assessments connect individual survival to broader imperial war machine requirements through mathematical precision. Processing pressure increases as staff reference harvest quotas, requiring facility throughput improvements. Contribution assessments accelerate. Ration reviews occur weekly instead of monthly. Ascension lottery announcements multiply. Protocol harvest appears in staff communications as facility-wide directive triggered by external military crises, converting accumulated gratitude debt into imperial service assignments. The Korvaths navigate this intricate web of scarcity and control, their lives now defined by imperial balance sheets that transform desperation into endless cycles of labor and obligation. Above them, facility administrators, priests, and enforcers prepare systematic operations that will determine their ultimate disposition within the processing machinery. The systematic processing converting desperation into imperial utility operates through institutional actors who balance genuine humanitarian impulses against bureaucratic necessity. Sub-Prefect Livia Sorrell manages Processing Center Gamma 7's population ledgers from cogitator warrens that hum with data spirit communion. Her morning reports show intake exceeding capacity by 9%. DPPI averages declining. Manufactoria liaisons advancing labor requisitions. Compassion exists within her calculations, but efficiency metrics determine career advancement through throughput statistics rather than humanitarian outcomes. Confessor Thaddeus moves through dormitory blocks, offering spiritual guidance while gathering intelligence through confession protocols. His sermons provide genuine comfort to displaced populations, while his reports identify potential resistors for specialized processing. The dual mandate transforms religious vocation into surveillance operation, justified through theological interpretation that frames systematic sorting as divine will. Manifest through human agency. His advancement depends on loyalty assessment accuracy and resistance identification rates. Arbitrator Major Helbrecht commands precinct forces trained for measured correction under efficiency standards that count excessive force as operational failure. His riot probability models track density spikes near ration points, grievance accumulation around gray junctions, rumor contagion vectors spreading through dormitory blocks. Containment drills practice sealing corridors in 90 seconds, opening them in 10. Professional pressure shapes enforcement responses as career recognition rewards. Population control, effectiveness over individual consideration. The dual-key authorization system prevents unauthorized processing while ensuring operational coordination. Sorel's administrative codes authorize resource allocation based on productivity assessments. Helbrecht's security clearance enables population control measures during transition phases. Both signatures activate protocol harvest implementation, converting accumulated populations into Imperial service assignments during military crisis. The design divides culpability while fusing complicity through shared operational authority. Promotion structures reward efficient population management through statistical metrics that obscure human consequences. Administrators advance through improved throughput and reduced processing costs. Priests gain recognition for confession compliance and disciplinary incident reduction. Arbit's personnel receive commendation for maintaining order during systematic operations. The incentive frameworks align institutional behavior with processing objectives rather than humanitarian outcomes. Staff communications reference processing cycles requiring facility-wide coordination between civilian and military authorities. Protocol harvest appears as standing directive triggered by external military requirements, transforming refuge facilities into recruitment centers through emergency authorities. Processing pressure increases as harvest quotas approach implementation thresholds. Well-meaning individuals become complicit through bureaucratic frameworks that frame systematic processing as necessary service to imperial war effort. Moral compromises accumulate through career advancement requirements that prioritize efficiency over compassion. Above the Korvaths, these institutional shepherds prepare operations that will reveal the processing system's true nature through coordinated implementation of accumulated authorities and prepared infrastructure. The alert arrives through encrypted Vox channels at 0347 hours, not as alarm, but as liturgical notification. Orkwa. Scarjaw consumes 3 frontier worlds, creating manpower deficits requiring immediate population mobilization. Sub-Prefect, Sorel and Arbitrator Major Helbrecht approach the dual-key console with rehearsed precision. 2 turns, synchronized authorization, and processing center. Gamma 7 transitions from refugee facility to resource extraction operation. Protocol harvest activates with mechanical certainty. Blast shutters descend with hydraulic whispers while internal corridors remain accessible for controlled population movement. Voxcasters replace morning homilies with processing directives delivered in reassuring tones. Enhanced placement opportunities now available. Proceed to designated color stations for accelerated Imperial service assignments. The language maintains hope, while infrastructure prepares systematic sorting through channels designed for this moment. The facility's architecture reveals its true purpose as populations flow through color-coded routing systems. Green corridors funnel families toward final assessment stations. Gray pathways slope 5 degrees downward toward specialized processing areas requiring escort authorization. Red routes activate for the first time since facility construction, glowing with security fields that prevent unauthorized access. Every wall, junction, and checkpoint serves the harvest. Yorick Korvath receives notification through biometric scanner that chirps recognition of his DPPI classification. Agricultural experience triggers Penal Legion conscription protocols as Munitorum clerks explain service terms with bureaucratic kindness. Indefinite deployment, combat zone assignments, survival-based advancement. His gray ticket, purchased with wedding bangles and desperate hope, guarantees placement in military service chains requiring expendable personnel for assault operations. The pressed metal chit reveals its purpose: not protection, but processing authorization. Marin's textile skills earn assignment to munitions factory labor under Mechanicus oversight. Her documentation requires signature acknowledgement of improved placement opportunities, while transport schedules prevent prolonged farewells. The gray ticket system delivers its promise through specialized assignment in manufacturing complexes, producing ordnance for the war effort that will consume her husband's service. The family's separation appears voluntary through careful procedural management. 7-year-old Mira enters Scola Progenium selection through juvenile processing protocols that transform displaced children into institutional assets. Her neural compatibility markers qualify her for commissariat training programs designed to produce loyalty enforcement specialists. A robed Scholastica official explains her enhanced educational opportunities, while removing personal possessions except for standard catechism texts. The child's gray ticket ensures guaranteed Imperial service through programs converting displacement into ideological weapons. Red assessment individuals receive escort to gray corridors, leading to sub-level conversion facilities where Mechanicus adepts perform servitor transformation procedures. Their confession booth recordings provide legal justification for loyalty tribunals determining conversion necessity. Industrial drainage systems handle byproducts while maintaining clinical efficiency. The processing converts human resistance into mechanical compliance through theological frameworks, justifying mercy labor. Confessor booths drain as recorded confessions become evidence packets supporting systematic assignments. Families' spiritual guidance sessions transform into legal documentation for separation protocols. Confessor Thaddeus oversees data extraction while maintaining pastoral demeanor, his advancement dependent on intelligence accuracy rather than spiritual comfort. The drainage systems handle confession-related materials while preserving operational security. Processing quotas achieve fulfillment through coordinated activation. Gamma 7 supplies 12,000 workers to sector war effort, processes 3,000 children into Imperial institutions, converts 800 individuals into servitors, allocates remaining populations to specialized assignments. The statistics represent human lives transformed into Imperial resources through machinery, operating at designed efficiency. The Korvath family's final separation occurs with procedural gentleness that maintains compliance through systematic kindness. Each member receives documentation explaining their assignments, while transport schedules facilitate efficient population distribution. The system processes their desperation into Imperial utility while preserving illusions of voluntary participation. The machine does not hate, it accounts. Above them, the facility completes its transformation from shelter to processing center, revealing Refuge as sophisticated intake valve for the Imperial war economy. The machine does not hate, it accounts. As Protocol Harvest concludes at Processing Center Gamma 7, ledgers update before transport vessels clear the loading bays. The Korvath family's systematic separation reveals institutional logic operating beneath humanitarian facades. Imperial refuge facilities function as sophisticated intake valves for the war economy, processing human displacement into resource streams with mathematical precision. The euphemisms dissolve under systematic analysis. Specialized placement equals resource allocation based on productivity assessments and military requirements. Ascension opportunities represent extraction from family units for assignment to Imperial service chains. Gray corridor processing converts problematic populations through servitor transformation protocols. Enhanced educational opportunities transform children into institutional assets through loyalty enforcement programs. Sanctuary world resettlement creates permanent indenture under planetary labor quotas. Statistical context exposes operational scope beyond individual tragedy. Processing center. Gamma 7 supplies 12,000 workers annually to Sector Manufactoria, processes 3,000 children into Imperial. Institutions converts 800 individuals into servitors through Mechanicus protocols. The facility achieves 94% successful placement, 6% specialized assignment, 0% departure, systematic success, not bureaucratic failure. Sector-wide networks process 847 million displaced souls annually through identical methodologies. The Departamento Refugium operates 63 processing nodes converting displacement into Imperial utility streams. Military campaigns deliberately create refugee populations through strategic disruption. Economic policies ensure continued instability, generating processing requirements. The system's operations produce new displacement waves through family separation, maintaining perpetual intake demands. The gray ticket system guarantees placement within Imperial service chains while maintaining choice illusions through voluntary participation frameworks. Families purchase processing authorization, believing they secure safety, actually enabling systematic extraction through legal mechanisms. The pressed metal chits represent consent obtained through desperation, managed through hope, manipulation embedded in facility architecture and daily operations. Confessor booth recordings provide legal justification for processing decisions while maintaining pastoral care illusions. Industrial drainage systems handle confession-related materials while preserving operational security. Religious comfort becomes intelligence gathering disguised as spiritual service, feeding loyalty tribunals that determine final assignments. Refugee processing sorts displaced populations into resource streams serving Imperial requirements. Skilled laborers feed manufactoria producing war materials. Healthy bodies enter penal legions providing expendable assault troops. Children join institutional programs, creating future administrators and enforcers. The impaired undergo servitor conversion, producing mechanical labor. The unfit face disposal through efficient protocols. The dual key authorization system prevents individual abuse while enabling systematic processing through shared operational authority. Administrative codes authorize resource allocation based on productivity metrics. Security clearances enable population control during transition phases. Both signatures activate facility-wide processing, converting accumulated populations into Imperial assets through coordinated implementation. Processing Center GAMI 7 exemplifies Imperial refugee doctrine through architectural embodiment of systematic sorting. Single-entry checkpoints, color-coded routing, central surveillance, and specialized corridors serve processing functions disguised as humanitarian assistance. The facility reveals Refuge as sophisticated resource management operating under mercy liturgies, while serving the war economy's appetite for human assets. The Korvath's fate illustrates pattern, not anomaly. Father, conscripted, mother indentured, child institutionalized, through systems extending beyond planetary processing into void-based operations that adapt sorting principles to different operational environments. The sector-wide processing networks extending beyond planetary facilities adapt their sorting principles to void environments where displacement occurs within sealed vessels traveling between systems. Refugee transport. Benediction of Terra exemplifies mobile processing through modular compartment reconfiguration. 23,000 displaced souls occupy cargo bays fitted with triple-tier bunks, recycled air systems, and artificial gravity sections calibrated for different processing stages. Void Marshal Corvin manages population density through compartment pressure controls while maintaining life support efficiency. Cramped dormitories become permanent residences measured in cubic meters per head. Air rationing operates through script linked to wrist chronometers. Each breath calculated, each minute accounted. Water flows by nozzle count and timer authorization. Viewport access transforms into luxury commodity, traded for shift assignments or information currency. The familiar color-coded routing adapts to shipboard constraints through deck assignments rather than corridor access. Green sections, house-approved populations awaiting standard placement. Gray decks contain specialized assignment candidates requiring enhanced monitoring. Red compartments isolate problematic individuals pending deep void assignments, permanent postings to frontier stations, where return becomes impossible through operational necessity rather than explicit punishment. Shipboard confessor units operate in converted cargo holds with portable Vox shrines, gathering stories that become data for loyalty indices while maintaining pastoral care illusions. Emergency bulkheads segment crowds into digestible volumes for headcount efficiency. Jettison protocols handle contaminated sections when warp exposure creates loyalty concerns or biological hazards requiring immediate containment through vacuum disposal. Control mechanisms depend on steel and distance. Bulkhead doors prevent unauthorized movement between processing zones. Emergency jettison rails along external compartments carry euphemistic labels: Containment 2, Quarantine 5. Their purpose clear to crew, mysterious to cargo. Void marshals monitor density thresholds that trigger redistribution before rumor pools into organized resistance. Survival taxes proliferate in transit environments. Airscripts purchase longer breaths during work shifts. Water tokens buy heat in recycled cups. Privacy rents by curtain, charged in water minutes. Informants sell names for berth upgrades near heat exchangers. The economics strip dignity while maintaining survival through controlled scarcity. Orbital stations serve as sector-wide sorting hubs where processed populations transfer between vessels. According to final assignment destinations, Station Tertius processes 400,000 refugees annually through rotating habitat rings with central processing cores coordinating planetary assignments, military conscription, and specialized placement. Whispered references to Geller field disruptions during processing create particular dread among transported populations. Warp exposure incidents trigger immediate compartment isolation and enhanced loyalty screening, while medical evaluation determines conversion necessity. The void environment enables processing operations impossible on planetary surfaces while maintaining operational security through controlled environments. These mobile facilities deliver processed populations directly to manufactoria, military installations, or frontier colonies without planetary processing delays. The journey itself continues systematic sorting, stripping final vestiges of prior identity through constant surveillance and resource dependency. Below awaits the next stage, sanctuary worlds where processed populations face permanent assignment through planetary-scale processing operations. The void-delivered populations arrive at designated sanctuary worlds, where planetary-scale processing operations convert entire worlds into permanent assignment facilities disguised as resettlement programs. These planets embody systematic processing principles expanded beyond facility constraints, agricultural communes, mining settlements, and defense installations that transform displacement into indefinite imperial service through geographical isolation and resource dependency. Marin Korvath disembarks at Kalios Prime, carrying assignment documentation for Agricultural Commune 7 Beta. Her textile skills redirected toward corpse wheat cultivation under Departamento Munitorum. Oversight. The commune spans 12,000 hectares with dormitory complexes arranged for optimal surveillance and productivity monitoring. Her gray ticket guaranteed specialized placement, permanent agricultural indenture through productivity quotas calculated to prevent economic independence while maintaining subsistence survival. Agricultural communes operate through mandatory productivity targets that require perpetual labor exceeding achievable output. Workers cultivate corpse wheat, protein fungi, and vitamin supplements, feeding Imperial Guard regiments while receiving rations preventing departure through systematic scarcity. Mining settlements extract resources through tiered safety protocols correlating worker value with operational risk. Basic equipment for standard productivity, upgraded protection for quota exceeding. Defense installations train processed populations as planetary militia through perpetual training cycles that never conclude with civilian discharge. Control mechanisms span planetary governance through integrated oversight systems. Administratum prefectures track population statistics, resource, output, and labor efficiency through continuous auditing. Ecclesiarchy moral guidance operates through commune-based sermons, reinforcing dependency theology while gathering intelligence on seditious conversation. Arbeits enforcement maintains work discipline through measured correction and impeccable documentation of regulatory compliance. Planetary harvest assessments arrive as sealed directives from sector command, resetting population management parameters based on military requirements. Agricultural output quotas increase during campaign seasons. Mining extraction accelerates for munitions production. Defense training intensifies before deployment cycles. The assessments connect individual survival to sector-wide resource allocation serving Imperial war machine appetites. Black ships maintain regular schedules at Sanctuary world spaceports, their priority claim clauses superseding local population needs. Psyker screenings expand to entire districts during collection phases while removing unsuitable individuals displaying leadership potential or resistance indicators. The removals serve dual functions: resource extraction for Imperial institutions and deterrent demonstration, maintaining population compliance. Reproductive controls operate through the womb ledger system, tracking birth permits against labor forecasts. Authorized pregnancies receive medical support and ration supplements. Unauthorized reproduction generates fines, reassignment, and family separation. Children inherit parental processing status, their education focusing on vocational training and Imperial catechism, preparing them for predetermined roles within planetary operations. The system generates self-sustaining workforce cycles while maintaining resettlement illusions through carefully managed hope. Processed populations never achieve civilian status because planetary operations require permanent labor availability. Travel requests encounter jurisdictional barriers. Identity documentation lists status as provisional indefinitely. Release rumors circulate without statistical verification. Sanctuary world designation conceals permanent processing through humanitarian language while operating extraction facilities on planetary scale. Kalios Prime processes 400,000 refugees annually while producing agricultural surplus, feeding 3 Imperial Guard regiments. The planet exemplifies refugee doctrine's ultimate expression: entire worlds converted into human resource management systems, serving Imperial requirements through populations that entered seeking temporary shelter and discovered permanent assignment within machinery that processes displacement into utility across the sector's institutional networks, where final sorting protocols await. The planetary-scale processing operations ultimately channel populations through final assessment protocols, determining permanent disposition within Imperial service chains. Statistical reality governs these determinations. Less than 2% of processed refugees achieve independent civilian status after 5 standard years. The remainder undergo systematic sorting through medical assessments, loyalty evaluations, and genetic testing that allocate human resources according to Imperial requirements. Yorick Korvath's Penal Legion assignment exemplifies military processing pathways. His agricultural experience becomes irrelevant as Munitorum assessments focus on physical endurance and expendability ratings. Imperial Guard doctrine frames penal service as redemption opportunity through combat deployment, converting problematic populations into assault troops through controlled desperation and commissariat oversight. Medical clearance confirms suitability for frontline operations, while loyalty indices determine assignment to standard or expendable formations. Servitor conversion processes. Populations deemed unsuitable for standard service through Mechanicus protocols, justifying surgical transformation as mercy labor. The Officio Medicae evaluates cognitive capacity, physical functionality, and conversion compatibility, while determining optimal cybernetic enhancement procedures. Marin's respiratory damage from agricultural labor qualifies her for conversion assessment, pending quota requirements and facility capacity. The theology removes pain while retaining function, producing mechanical labor units serving Imperial infrastructure. Genetic testing identifies psyker potential, triggering Black Ship's collection protocols that supersede all processing pathways. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica maintains priority claims over psychically active individuals, regardless of family status or productivity ratings. Mira's routine Psychana screenings during Scola conditioning could trigger immediate collection for astropathic training, sanctioning procedures, or ritual sacrifice powering the Astronomicon. Collection operates through systematic screening without appeal processes. Corpse starch processing handles expired populations through industrial recycling, converting biological waste into nutritional supplements. Medical certification of natural expiration maintains operational legitimacy while automated equipment maximizes resource recovery. The protocols ensure complete utility extraction from processed populations unable to contribute through standard service pathways. Final assessment protocols balance Imperial resource needs against processing capacity through statistical optimization models targeting specific disposition percentages. Military requirements determine penal legion quotas. Industrial demands influence servitor conversion rates. Institutional needs affect collection schedules. The mathematics reduce human displacement to resource allocation problems with optimal solutions serving sector-wide operational requirements. Loyalty evaluations influence pathway selection through psychological assessment, determining institutional suitability. Standard Imperial Guard receives populations displaying appropriate submission. Penal legions absorb resistance indicators. Commissariat programs select individuals demonstrating enforcement potential. The evaluations sort human psychology into Imperial requirements while maintaining operational security through careful personnel management. Processing Center. Gamma 7 achieves systematic outcomes reflecting sector-wide efficiency. 23% military assignment, 31% industrial labor, 18% agricultural placement, 12% servitor conversion, 8% psyker collection, 6% institutional programs. These percentages represent mathematical optimization of human resources, serving Imperial war machine requirements through final sorting that completes the processing cycle. Though statistical models account for resistance variables requiring suppression protocols. The statistical models accounting for resistance variables manifest as systematic friction within processing operations. Resistance represents anticipated parameter rather than operational failure. Each act of defiance generates data-feeding suppression protocols designed to convert dissent into demonstration effects. Agricultural Commune. 7 Beta experiences coordinated work slowdowns when Marin Korvath's deteriorating respiratory condition reveals pending servitor conversion assessments. Tools disappear from harvest equipment. Conveyor mechanisms suffer deliberate sabotage. Whispered conversations spread faster than grain dust through dormitory blocks. Resistance assessment matrices identify potential troublemakers through behavioral analysis, tracking conversation patterns, productivity variations, and social network formations. The psychological profiles flag individuals displaying leadership indicators, questioning authority structures, or maintaining family loyalties exceeding institutional allegiance. Marin's textile background enables coded communication through hand signals developed in factory environments, facilitating coordination despite surveillance systems designed to prevent collective action. Processing facilities anticipate organized opposition through architectural design, embedding suppression capabilities within operational infrastructure. Compartmentalized dormitories prevent mass gatherings, while staggered shift schedules disrupt communication opportunities. Informant networks report suspicious activities through ration incentives and assignment improvements, creating mutual distrust that fragments resistance before crystallization into operational threats. Swift suppression protocols maintain facility efficiency through measured violence calibrated for maximum deterrent effect. When commune workers organize ration protests, arbitrator units select statistical samples for demonstration correction. 3% face summary execution, while remainder receive reassignment to mining operations with enhanced monitoring. The mathematics balance. Workforce preservation against behavioral modification requirements. Void transport uprisings trigger immediate compartment isolation through bulkhead sealing and atmospheric manipulation. Void Marshal Corvin's incident reports document jettison protocols activating when resistance exceeds containment capacity. 14 displaced men attempting escape through maintenance gantries discover response times measured in minutes. Survival chances calculated in percentages. Emergency rails fulfill their euphemistic purpose through vacuum exposure when demonstration proves insufficient. Preemptive transfers. Fragment resistance networks through geographical dispersion and family separation. Jorik Korvath's penal cohort receives combat deployment 2 days after commune incidents. Callers whisper as circuits arm, advancing because alternatives prove immediate and personal. Commissariat oversight manages processed military populations through loyalty enforcement specialists trained from childhood, maintaining unit effectiveness through selective execution and promotion incentives. Collective punishment operates through institutional logic that transforms individual defiance into group consequences. Children transfer to distant Scola facilities, while parents face separate planetary assignments. Mira copies catechisms describing descent taxonomy, rumor, question, refusal, while scoring exceptional marks on essays concluding that mercy without discipline constitutes treachery against imperial order. The system adapts to resistance by integrating opposition into operational parameters. Facility efficiency ratings incorporate resistance incidents as normal variables, requiring management through established procedures. Each uprising provides data points refining security protocols while justifying enhanced control measures. Suppression becomes processing function, converting dissent into systematic improvements that strengthen institutional capabilities. Resistance ultimately serves processing objectives by generating new displacements requiring additional intake capacity. Failed uprisings create refugees from failed uprisings. Demonstration executions provide corpse starch supplementing ration systems. The machinery processes defiance into utility, ensuring perpetual operation through populations discovering that rebellion itself feeds the system designed to contain it. The machinery that processes defiance into utility operates through perpetual cycles designed to convert resistance into demonstration effects. 3 standard years after Protocol Harvest activation, the Korvath family's final dispositions exemplify statistical outcomes governing sector-wide processing operations that transform 847 million displaced souls annually into imperial resources through systematic sorting mechanisms. Jorik Korvath serves in Penal Legion 47 Tertius, his agricultural expertise irrelevant against explosive collar circuits, monitoring. Compliance during expendable assault operations. Survival represents statistical anomaly. Mortality rates exceed 90% within first deployment year. His continued existence demonstrates redemption possibilities through Imperial service while providing expendable manpower for frontal charges against Orc fortifications on Valon Secundus. Marin's respiratory deterioration triggers servitor conversion at Mechanicus Facility Omega-12. Cybernetic implants replace damaged lung tissue, while cortical inhibitors manage pain responses during 14-hour manufacturing shifts. The transformation removes suffering while retaining function, producing industrial labor units serving munitions production that supplies campaigns consuming her husband's penal cohort. Utility achieved, costs minimized. 7-year-old Mira excels within Schola Progenium conditioning programs, her neural compatibility enabling commissariat specialization training. Childhood memories fade through systematic indoctrination, while loyalty enforcement techniques develop through practical exercises. Her exceptional performance in descent identification qualifies her for advanced programs, preparing future facility administrators, managing refugee processing operations. Statistical context reveals systematic scope. 2.3 million assigned to military service annually, 1.8 million allocated to industrial labor, 400,000 converted to servitors, 150,000 collected by black ships. These figures represent mathematical optimization of human resources serving Imperial war machine requirements through institutional efficiency that exceeds previous operational parameters. Military campaigns deliberately generate displacement through strategic disruption, creating new refugee populations, feeding processing centers. Economic policies ensure continued instability, producing intake requirements, while facility operations generate additional displacement through family separation and resistance suppression. The system creates perpetual demand through populations requiring processing. Processing Center Gamma. 7 receives new arrivals carrying identical hopes as the Korvaths once possessed. Children press hands against reinforced glass, watching families separate through productivity assessments. The doors open inward, never out. Transit papers bear Imperial Aquilus, while Auspex arches bloom with data measuring human displacement converted into Imperial utility. The Departamento Refugium operates under procedural creed governing sector-wide operations. In service to the Emperor, all citizens find their proper place. The liturgy justifies systematic sorting through theological framework. Presenting processing as divine will manifest through human agency. Above intake gates, new refugees approach carrying hopes that will become data-feeding systems, converting desperation into Imperial service through perpetual processing operations serving the throne's eternal requirements.